My name is Mitch Benner, and we started this podcast to remove the stigma around sobriety from addiction.
My name is Aaron Nelson. Through our stories and the stories of our guests, we hope to help you find a new path.
All right, here we are. Shattered Darkness. I am your host, Mitch Benner, with my co-host, Aaron Nelson, and we are recording episode number 10. This is a special episode for both Aaron and I, as we have our wives here with us today. My wife is Ashely Benner, and Aaron's wife is Naya Nelson. And we just asked them to come in and do an episode that kind of talks about their perspective of what it was like to be living with us, married to us, the struggles that they went through while we were in active addiction and drinking. So we just really want to get their perspective, their story. Obviously, this is going to be hard for Aaron and I to hear. Some of this stuff we probably haven't heard before. But I think it's necessary for the healing story, just the healing side of things. And so we are going to introduce my wife, Ashely Benner. How are you today?
I'm good.
Yeah. And Naya Nelson, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Good. Okay. I just want to say thank you guys for coming in and doing this. I know it's probably not the most comfortable thing in the world, and you have to sit this close to me.
Really close.
And thank you both for one, knocking the camera off, Mitch. Thank you.
Yep.
And then thank you both for being willing to be so close and expose the grassroots of all of this.
Exactly.
This is amazing. One day we'll graduate to 4 microphones.
There we go.
One day we'll graduate to our own studio. That's the goal, right?
Baby steps.
Yep. So anyways, I guess we'll just kind of start. I guess the biggest question that I have from the beginning is like, when did you guys realize it was an issue? Like, when did things start to kind of change mentally for you where you're like, holy shit, like this is actually becoming a problem? And you guys just, go for it. Whoever wants to answer first.
Yeah. I consider myself a pretty smart person.
I didn't say you were stupid.
No, I know. But I think there were red flags when we were dating.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'd go out and get in a fight and I'd be left at a dog park.
I remember that.
Without a car. Or I remember one time we were at, was it CB and Potts?
No, that was at the mayor of Old Town.
Somewhere down there.
And I walked home.
Mm-hmm. And I'd always be left with this feeling of like, what the hell just happened? Like, it just would happen. Like, we'd be having such a great night and then like one thing could trigger it and just all hell would break loose, And so I think the red flags were always there.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the beginning. But, it ebbed and flowed for quite a while until it got really bad.
Yeah.
Was it like something that he said or something that you said that he didn't take well, or?
It would just be, it could be that. It could just be like, he was really drunk and one of his friends said something and I would try and calm him down. It could be really anything. Like I was always left wondering, like, what just happened? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because I remember those two specific situations. And I think one of them, you told me not to drink more.
Yeah.
I think that was at the mayor of Old Town. You asked me not to drink and that pissed me off. And I don't know what happened at the dog park. You probably said something, but I remember it was like a light switch.
Yeah, it would be like a light switch.
Were you drinking, were you already drunk going into that mayor of Old Town? Do you remember?
Probably. I mean, we had probably been drinking prior, but it was after, and we were with work friends. Like, we were with people from work. And the dog park, I don't think I was drunk.
No.
Because I was like in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
I think you just made me angry and I chose to be an asshole. So.
I remember one in Hawaii. This was before we moved in with each other. We were having dinner at a restaurant. This is before kids. We were with my parents. They stayed back and we went on a date and we were talking about life, the future, and like our goals. And I think I had mentioned to you that I'd like you to stop using tobacco. And you just kind of like went off on me. And then I was in the bathroom and a gal that was sitting next to us came up to me and was like, you need to get away from that situation. And I was like, okay, Yeah. And then I made the mistake of telling you that somebody had come up to me. I think obviously to like, hey, you're being crazy right now. Like somebody else heard you because you have a loud voice. You have a really low, husky, loud voice. And so it's not hard, but, yeah, that was bad, and it turned into this horrible night. We went back, and you were gonna like fly home, and we were supposed to move in with each other. Right when we got home, we were like redoing the house, and yeah. So
I remember that.
There were red flags for sure. Yeah.
What about you? Yeah.
I don't think Aaron like ever really had like the outbursts. But it was just like we would go out for dinner and he'd be like, can I have a beer? And I'd be like, yeah. And then I'd be like, how many beers have you had?
Yeah.
And it was like 5, 6 every time we went to dinner. It couldn't just be like one drink. Or when we were like out with friends, it wasn't just like a casual drink when you're hanging out. It was always excessive. There was never an in between. It was none or it was all of it.
Yeah.
What's really crazy about that though is our first date I didn't drink. And I remember feeling like I didn't need any alcohol because you filled my cup, you filled that void. But I don't know, that probably was like a day,
right? Yeah, that lasted for the weekend.
yeah. I mean, maybe 2-3 days, but yeah, that's crazy perspective, because I don't think about, we never thought about how much we've had,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to ask you, I know it's kind of a tough right out the gate question, but did anybody for Ashely's story ever come up to you and say, hey, that dude's not good for you?
Oh, my mother.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about that on the 4th episode.
I was going to say, I think on your episode, you talked a little bit about that.
Yeah. And I'm interested, like how did that, tell me.
Well, I think the biggest like one that she picked up on was when you crashed your car.
Which one? Which time? You have to be more specific.
That's not funny.
The one when you called me at 2 a.m. and you're like, I think I just crashed. And I showed up and your car was under a fence and over railroad tracks. And I was like, you did crash your car.
Yeah, this is considered a crash.
Yeah. And so Connor and I woke up at 2 a.m. to go find you because you couldn't tell us where you were. And then I had like told my mom and she's like, oh, he's drunk. I was like, I don't think he is, Mom. Like, he's fine. He can talk to me. And she's like, no, like, you're being stupid. And then it was like every time after that, like when you would pick up Con from my parents, my mom was like, I think he smells like alcohol. I'm like, Mom, it's like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And it was just like all the time, like every time that you would pick up from him or you would like be around them, that was like always her thing. I think he smells like alcohol. And so it was like for like the first like couple years, like that was just always her thing. He smells like he's drinking. Is he drinking again?
Yeah.
How is that now? Like, how would you say your relationship with your mother-in-law is now?
Okay.
So I think me and Gina get along really well.
Yeah.
She even admitted it one time, and I don't think she meant to.
That she didn't like you?
No, that she actually likes me now.
Oh,
she told him that she didn't like him.
She
Yeah,
did.
That was never a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And I remember one time, though, I picked up Connor from her school, and that was gnarly. I had gotten off of work from, I think that was True Green, and I think I had shooters waiting for me in my car, and I was helping her move something, and I don't know why, but I decided to drink like all 5 of them, and I reeked, and Connor was in the car. Horrible decision, but I don't think I was drunk yet. I think when I got there, I think I timed it right, drank him in the parking lot, and then walked right in. And that was the one that you feel and you sense. And she came.
Yeah, that was the day that she called me, and she was like, you need to come get Connor. Aaron's not driving him anywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I literally went to an elementary school to help her move some furniture and decided taking shots first was the right idea.
Dude, and the crazy thing is I've done that, maybe not at an elementary school, but in situations where it's like, you definitely know, like, this is a horrible idea, but you do it anyways,
Yep.
So let me ask you guys this. What do you think was the hardest thing to deal with through that whole, like, through our active addiction and things like that? Was it the fallout from the fights? And because I will admit this openly, like, I was verbally abusive. I know that.
I could take it when we didn't have kids. And then once we had M and then Declan, it was harder to deal with for sure. You know, I could avoid you, ignore you when we didn't have kids and, you know, but then once you do, you feel this level of like you have to be strong for your kids, but you're also falling apart inside. And yeah, it was hard.
Just like emotional torture.
Yeah, because a lot of times, you know, you would leave and I'd be with the kids. So I didn't get a chance to recover and really reflect on what had happened. I just had to like step up and be a mom and move on.
It's funny that, because I feel like you had to do, like you said, you had to move on, kind of do the things without me. And it's funny now, I feel that sometimes in our relationship, sober, and I see it, you know, where it's like, and I don't think it's on purpose, but it's like, you know, you and the kids go do something, or, you know, it's like this little threesome.
Yeah.
You know, and I kind of feel like I'm on the outside sometimes, and which I understand. Like, I'm not upset about that or anything. It's just something that I've noticed, you know, and I think something that we're working on. But
yeah, no, it is. You would get mad if I bothered you while you were working. Like some days you'd be happy to help with something, and then I would ask you maybe the next week and you would get angry and I would like get in trouble for it, you know, like I'm working, you need to leave me alone, you know. And so I just would take the kids and we'd do us.
What about you? What do you think was the toughest?
I think the hardest part was just like I didn't know like if I could count on you. And it was like some days like I had like everything that I needed and I felt supported and I felt the love and I felt like, oh, okay, I can ask Aaron to do this. And then there were days that I was like, okay, I have to do everything. And there were times where it was like, I mean, Connor was little at this point. Connor was not, he was under 1. And so it was like, I have 2 kids that I'm in charge of.
Yeah.
And one of them is not capable of doing anything on his own. And the other one is a 6-month-old baby.
That's,
Yep.
It's kind of hard to swallow too, you know, like being on the other side of this stuff. And I knew that this would be a hard conversation, but necessary.
Yeah, but we knew it.
Yeah.
You know, to an extent, like we probably lied. I lied to myself about it.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought I was the tough man taking care of everybody. And
it's crazy to think like where my mind was at during that time. Cause it's like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't feel like I remember a lot of it, you know, like I blocked it out or just chose not to, I don't know. But there's like hearing this stuff, like from a different perspective, when I was in the addiction and drinking, it didn't seem like it was that big of a deal.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because you handled it. You were riding that wave of chaos and everything was cool.
Yeah. And it's just like, I was listening to a different podcast this morning on a similar subject and the exact same subject, but like, dude, I would take shots with my kids in the car. You know, I didn't do it very often, but maybe once, twice. And you just don't even think about it. You know what I mean? Like, you just do it and you don't really stop to think about it. And that's like on the other side of this, I look at this and I'm like, wow, like that's insane.
Yeah.
Was there anything that Ashely said to you of whatever, it doesn't matter what it is, but something that like really sticks out that she was essentially calling you out? And
I don't like to be challenged. I don't like it at all. It makes me, I think it comes from my past. I think it kind of like, I've always struggled with acceptance, like feeling accepted. And I don't feel like my dad ever did. You know, I feel like that he looked at me and was kind of like, well, you're probably going to screw this up. You know, but from his perspective, he was trying to highlight the pitfalls of anything that I was doing, right? He's trying to protect me in his own way, but I just didn't see it that way. So I think that I had these issues of acceptance. And I also had a relationship that failed that tore me up. And I felt like that was my fault. So I just think that like when she would challenge me, it automatically brought back these feelings of inadequacy. And then in active addiction, I know in my brain that what I'm doing is wrong, but I'm still doing it because I can't stop. And so it's like when she would challenge me on those things of like, hey, don't have another drink. It's like, fuck you. Like instantly, I'm like, feel like a little boy and I want to fight against that instantly.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where the light switch came from because it was like, well, you can't tell me what to do. Like nobody can tell me what to do. And I truly believed that and had that mindset. And it was like, no, you need to fall in line behind me. Yeah. I'm doing everything right. Get in line and shut up. That's honestly my perspective. It was my perspective for a long time. And I think that that's it's super messed up, man. But I think deep down in my heart, like truly, I love my family. I love my wife. I try to put them first in everything, but I'm a selfish person, right? Like, and being challenged and being asked to do things that were outside of my comfort zone just made me feel so small. It just made me feel like I wasn't doing the right things and I needed that guidance in my life. I mean, how many times have I told you, like, I'm so tired of being under a microscope? I'm so tired of being everybody's fucking project. That's like, oh, let's go fix Mitch because he's got all these issues. I felt like that plus mixed with all these other emotions. And it's like, plus I had this misogynistic view of what our marriage should look like. It was pretty old school. And there was no room for anybody else's perspective.
You wanted me to respect you, but I couldn't.
Of course you can't. Like nobody can respect that kind of behavior.
I wanted to, but I couldn't. Yeah. And, I know you always would say that, like, I need words of affirmation. I need you to respect me, love and respect. We'd do all these like marriage small groups and whatnot. And it made a lot of sense, but I just couldn't get there. There was no way to respect that for me.
Yeah. And I totally, looking back on that now, like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
wow.
Yeah. And it's funny too, like those kinds of things, like this is a big reason of why I wanted to do this because one, selfishly, it kind of helps me unwind some of the chaos that was caused in our family. I still see it in our children from time to time. My daughter gets super scared when I get upset, and she gets really upset. She completely shuts down.
Well, because for a while you can be like, they'll never remember this, and they don't know what's going on, but then they do.
Then they start to. And I don't think my son was as impacted by it as my daughter was. But yeah, dude, it's hard to watch that, and it's trying to unwind that in a 6-year-old.
Well, and they were used to mommy and daddy, like, going at each other
like every 3 months. It was this crazy nasty
like a knockout drag out argument kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she slapped me once, like I totally deserved it.
I pushed you.
Pushed me. It's psychotic, man.
Wow.
Yeah, and so she gets scared.
Yeah.
So.
And that's tough.
Yeah.
And it's just the other night, like she got upset about something and I'm like, you have to talk to me. And, and I finally looked at her, I was like, you know what? If you don't want to talk to me, that's fine. I understand, but you need to talk to somebody. Your mom, your teacher, a friend. I was like, whatever you do, just don't hold negative stuff inside of yourself. And I was like, if you don't trust me to do it, which is hard, dude, like that makes me want to cry right now. But it is what it is. It's the path that we're on. And
she also knows, though, about your recovery and that you're not drinking. And we've made both of them a huge part of that.
Yeah, for sure. I brought my daughter into it from day one. I wanted her to see me as a failure and see me fix it. So that's a long road. But,
yeah.
Whoo!
There you go. Good job.
It's heavy shit. All right, your turn.
Okay.
Oh, shit.
Oh.
I did. It's my feet. I'm sorry.
It's okay. So there's a tripod here with a camera on it.
I can't help it. I can't sit like this.
I know, it's
She
tough.
likes to move.
But they look so good. Like, it's perfect.
I know.
It is.
It's right there.
When did our marriage actually feel like a partnership for you?
That's a great question.
I don't really know. Because I feel like you had just like started like your sober track when you proposed to me. And so like for me it was always that like, is he still drinking? Like, what are we doing here? And so it was never like, it was just always in the back of my mind, like, okay, like, is this like a real thing, or like, is this going to last? Is this just like, how is this going to play out? And I think like, as we went through, like you were sober for quite a while before we got married. And so it like started to just be, for lack of a better word, better. Like things just felt smooth, and it felt like you were doing what I needed you to do and what like we needed as a family. So like I would say like after like 2-ish years, like, which I mean that was like right around when we got married, that it started to feel like this like was more of like a team effort and not just a me effort. And it started to feel like I could like count on you for those little things that I felt I should have been able to count on you for the whole time.
Let me ask you this. If he would have relapsed when you guys were engaged, would you have married him?
No.
Did you know that?
No, but it completely makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, so actually for context, the proposal was a Hail Mary.
Yeah.
Straight up, like we're down by 6 and it's a 1 yard line. I somehow threw it 100 yards and someone caught it.
It was next to a trash can.
It was not next to a goddamn trash can. So it was at Zoo Lights and it was beautiful.
Oh, I love Zoo.
I hate Zoo Lights.
Another.
It's so dumb.
Okay.
Well, that sucks.
I love
We
it.
should go.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm the only, I know I'm the Grinch.
We're going to go to Zoo Lights.
I hope you have a great time.
And we will show you the exact spot that we got engaged because it was a gorgeous setting.
There's a trash can in the corner of the picture.
Is it under the tree, that huge tree that they
There's
light up
so
like kind
many
of at the end?
trees.
Like
Funny.
it's like
No.
I swear they like put double the lights in that tree.
That's the
maybe.
one
No,
like
this is
behind the
like
train.
at the end.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the one I'm talking about.
No.
No.
That's not the one?
No.
Okay. All right.
No, there was no like rhyme or reason.
We know
I had
Zoo Lights.
Mhm.
It's
Unfortunately.
not the one.
We went to the right when we walked in,
Okay.
and I had the ring in my pocket, and I was just going to drop it on her at some point, and then I was like, oh shit, we are getting to the end. Like, this is almost over. Right next to where the giraffes are at.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I know exactly where you're at.
Yeah. Oh.
And then I found some dude, and I said, hey, hold my phone and propose to my wife. And he was like, oh.
Yeah.
It was cool.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
I love
Yep.
that.
So you literally had no idea if she was going to say yes or not?
Well, I bought the ring when I was still drinking.
Okay.
Bought it on Black Friday.
So
Yep. Asked your dad. Your dad said, how can I help?
And
And
my
then-
mom said, absolutely not.
Your dad
Oh my gosh.
didn't have my number saved in his phone yet. And so I texted him. I was like asking him for something. He goes, who is this? I was like, this is your future son-in-law. And he goes, whoa,
Yeah.
hold on. No, you haven't asked. You asked the nice one. You got to ask the. I don't think you called your mom mean. Maybe
She's
he
mean.
did say mean.
I love her,
mean.
but she is mean.
Yep. And then it was a no. And I remember I was working on something in my dad's garage, and she was texting back and forth like,
Mhm.
"You're not ready."
Wow.
And I'm like, "Yes, I am. It's good. I love your daughter. Like, thanks,
Mhm.
but I'm gonna do this anyway."
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
yep. But it was definitely a conditional yes, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
like that question too, because Aaron's 8 years into his sobriety. I'm 5 months, you know? So,
A year.
1 year asterisk.
well,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I relapsed in July due
Yeah.
to boredom. I would blame that on boredom.
Let me ask you real quick.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I have every single one of our guests' sober date written down, and I don't have yours.
July
Oh.
July 10th, 2023.
You're calling it July 10th?
Yeah, dude, that's the last time I had a drink.
Good for you.
Yeah. And you know what the crazy thing, I don't want, so the reason I did that, you start to crack the facade, it's going to explode. You know what I'm saying? Like sobriety has to be protected. And this is why I reset my date, because in my mind, it's a cracked facade. If I lie about it, it's cracked.
Mhm.
It's bullshit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, and so it's like that was super important to me. And I think I woke up probably around noon on the 11th and literally told you, I think the first I saw you, and I was like, I drank last night.
No, you didn't. You
were walking out to the park at your parents' house.
Uh-huh.
And that was, I think, the first time I'd seen you that day. Maybe not.
You
maybe,
were, I guess, yeah.
But I just couldn't do it, man. Like,
yeah.
So, and it's important to me, maybe it's different for you, but it was important to me that the foundation is solid.
No, yeah.
You know, and I feel like being honest about that. So I did look at my phone the other day and
that was hard.
Yeah, it sucked, but I'm glad it happened because it solidified this journey for me.
No,
big time.
Yeah.
You know, and
I think it's just hard because, like, parents being a part of it and all that kind of stuff. Like,
your parents have seen me at my absolute worst.
Yeah. Yeah.
Remember in Missouri when I like flew off the fucking handle? I probably drank an entire bottle of whiskey.
So that was a crazy one.
That one's going to be hard for me to talk about because I remember all of that. But
that was another example of just like
chaos.
Like we had such a great night sitting around talking with my parents, and then they went up to their room and I went up, we stayed in ours, and we just started talking about the next few days. And we were in Branson, and my dad and mom had just got a boat, and so they brought the boat, and we were talking about what day we were going to go boating. And you just flipped because you were like, I thought we were going boating every day. Like just silly things like that. Bro. Almost like a child. And it was like, no, I mean, we'll see.
It was in my mind, it was more than that. But that was also, I was extremely drunk that night.
And yeah, I think I even recorded, like I had started to record these like incidents just if I needed to use them in the future, and I remember it was really, really hard for me, and I had to like really just suck up all of my pride and go upstairs to my parents' room and be like, I need help with this situation, because I kind of tried to shield them from it like a lot. So
why were you embarrassed? Why did you shield them from it?
Yeah, embarrassed, and also knowing my parents and knowing like their baby girl is in trouble. They are going to fight for me, which is great, right? But I also know they're not like, they're very like they're on my side.
Yeah, they're
100%. Even if I do something wrong, they're on my side. So I'm like, they don't see any of the context with this, and they're not going to. And so that was really hard for me. And I went upstairs and took our kids, and my dad came downstairs.
Dad came down and like got in my face about it.
And that's not my dad. My dad is like a very calm person. And yeah, that was bad.
Yeah. That was like one of those situations where I literally laid in bed the next day for like 6 hours. Like, what the fuck am I going to do? It was so bad, and it was just like, I don't really like talking about that. That was probably one of the worst situations that happened when I was drunk.
Well, when we were talking about this earlier too, like the red flags and these incidents that happened, I always think back, like, how did I get over them? What did I tell myself? And I think I so badly, like, wanted, because you had said too, Nia, that, like, you didn't know which days you can count on him and when you couldn't. And I just wanted to so badly just get back to the day I could count on him. Because, I mean, it's not like every day you were, like, raging. Right. I mean, you might have been drunk, but, like, some days you were very pleasant to be around, and we had a great time. And, so it was just like, I just was desperate to get back to that. So it's like, I think I would just, okay, let's move on. You said sorry. You aren't going to drink as much next time. Let's move on. And especially in Branson, it was just like, this is like I don't think we had taken a family trip yet. Like, because Declan was like,
that was the first time. Like Declan was
6 months, and so we were so excited, and we had been waiting for this trip, and we were just so excited for it. So I just was like, I just want to be having a good family vacation. Like anything we could do to like stuff it in a place that and move on.
Yeah, didn't have time. And honestly, I do remember feeling like, wow, everybody kind of moved on from that pretty quickly, you know, and I was kicking the shit out of myself.
I don't did you drink?
I don't think I drank the rest of that
the
trip.
rest of the trip?
If I did, I maybe had a beer on the boat or something, but yeah, I don't think
no one was offering you any alcohol, I assume.
Well, and luckily
Not
the
my
rest,
parents,
the
but-
rest of her family, and I gotta give your dad a shout out because he really helped me. You know, like he just was very understanding, very graceful and gracious, and I just can't imagine myself being in that situation if it was my daughter. You know, like I don't think I would have handled it as well as he did.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really thankful for that because he didn't beat me up. He just asked me a lot of questions, you know, and just was like, dude, what the hell? Like
trying to understand it.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
my dad. And he tries to understand it first.
Yeah. So
and doesn't freak out.
Got to give a shout out to old Steve and Roy. Good dude.
How's that relationship with you all now?
I think it's getting better.
It's mending for sure.
It's, you know, I'm only a year into this journey. So that was actually another question I was going to ask is like, because I don't think we're there, you know, like I definitely think there's some, like you said, there's some things that need to be fixed. You know, the trust needs to be rebuilt. And honestly, I've learned this too, like your brain after drinking takes years to recover, you know, and you know, luckily mine didn't go so far to a point that I won't recover from it, but it could take up to 5 years for your mental pathways to like really start working the way that they should again. And it's crazy because sometimes I can almost like sense it or feel it, you know, like the clarity and things like that. Or maybe I have a little bit more motivation or whatever, or I can look at a situation, I can manage my emotions so much better than I used to, you know, and
you notice that in me? Is my brain different?
Yeah.
How?
It works.
you're not an idiot.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
It works.
But, you know, and that's the thing. It's become, sorry, I think I just spit.
Yeah.
That's become really important to me is to like pay really close attention to my emotions, you know? And it's like the other night my kids were making me so angry. And it was honestly because I wanted to play video games. They were taking forever to go to bed and they kept coming downstairs and, you know, and they don't listen, you know, and I just like got so frustrated, but I looked at Ashely and I'm like, I am so mad right now. And it was like, instead of acting on it, it's just like, I can address this in a calm manner and just be like, hey, I'm really angry at the kids right now for a dumb reason. You know, can you help me out or tell me that I'm being stupid? You know, and it's like, I love that piece. Like I can feel that piece.
You're much more like, this is how I'm feeling. I need to move on.
Yeah.
And I just came from a very calm family. Like we didn't fight a ton. We don't communicate very well because we stuff it. But like, so that I think is something that my family had to get used to just because it's your personality to be loud and boisterous. And, you know, sometimes you do kind of flip the switch, you know, but now that you're not drinking, it's not like you used to.
If I do flip the switch, it's pretty fun.
I mean, I think it still surprises my parents at times. My mom divorced a man that was drunk. And so I think
There's a little PTSD there.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Probably
you know,
hits too close to home.
A lot of times would just be like, would she say to me, you're going to get to a point where you stop loving him and that's where it's going to end. And I was like, woof.
And I think you actually might have told me that, but I don't know.
That's pretty heavy.
Yeah, man.
That was my biggest fear though with you. And that's why I think why it worked.
Losing her?
Well, she
or
told
her
me.
falling out of love with you?
No,
She
I
told
just
me
straight
what
up
would-
said, like, you're done or I'm gone.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a straight up, like, and I think that's just, like, how our relationship has always worked, is I don't really have a filter. And I will just tell you what I want to say, whether it's nice or not.
Yeah.
And that's, like, that night, that's what it came down to, is I left, I grabbed the baby, I grabbed a bag, and I left. And I called his mom, and I was like, you need to figure out your son because it's not my job.
How long have you guys been married at that point?
Oh, we weren't even married.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
That was pre-proposal.
Oh, you're right. You said
Yeah.
you
That
were
was-
sober when you got married.
That was like 2 years in, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Well, it was December 5th.
Did you guys have Connor right like pretty quickly in your relationship?
yes.
Yeah.
So Connor was just about 1.
Okay.
So I want to say we were like right at the 2-year mark.
Gotcha.
And it had just been like, it had all added up and I had reached my limit.
You know, it's crazy too, because I think about that. Like if Ashely would have given me a hard ultimatum, I'm not sure that would have worked.
Mhm.
You know, she gave me a small one.
Right.
You know, but I think ultimately it was my decision. And then I see your personality is very different. You know, did that work well for you? I mean, obviously it did. You just literally turned it off, and 8 years later, here you are.
Yeah. Well, I was in so much pain, and I was feeling like I walked in the door just lying to her.
Yeah.
Because there was a bottle of Jaeger under the driver's seat. There was shooters in the trash can. Like I would go as far as to like, because you know how we pulled up and the trash cans are right in front of the garage. I would like move trash.
Oh, yeah,
so I
dude.
could
Yeah.
throw my shit.
Oh, yeah.
We know.
Oh yeah,
Did
I
you
know.
know- did
You
you
didn't
know?
know.
No, you and I
Oh,
feel
yeah.
like you guys
You-
think like you're sneaky. But
The
you're
crazy
not.
thing is, I actually never really tried to hide it.
I mean, sometimes I would find like in your toolbox, you would
Mm-hmm.
hide a whiskey bottle, or if I had to get into your car for some reason, there'd be like shooters.
Yep, there were like empty
everywhere.
shooter bottles like in the trunk.
I remember always whenever
Really?
she'd be like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
gotta get some out of your truck." I'm like, "Oh, I'll get it. It's all right."
Yeah, dude.
You know?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
you're not going to know my secret.
yeah,
Right. No, and I remember like Aaron donated plasma for years.
yeah.
And it was like that money went on a separate card. You know, they give you like the plasma debit card. And that's what he would use. And he
Oh,
would go to the
okay.
liquor store during the day or whatever, and he'd use that money. And then I'd be like, hey, where's that money? Like, I was going to use that for this. And he's like, oh, it hasn't funded. And I'm like, it's been like 4 weeks. Of course it's funded.
Yeah.
I would wait.
Maybe we should search
It would
on that.
fund immediately. Like it would fund when I was sitting there.
I know.
And then the liquor store was on the way
It
home.
was on the
so-
way to work.
So you guys are smarter than we thought you were. is what you're trying to
100%.
say.
So for our listeners, you're not getting away with it.
Dude, and the crazy thing, the farther you get into that addiction, I remember being like, you know what? I don't even fucking care anymore. You know, and just be and like, dude, I don't think I ever told you this, but I was driving home one night and I was on Trilby and LeMay probably, and I fucking rear-ended somebody. I had been drinking, I probably drank a half a bottle of whiskey with Bloss, and we were playing cards at a cigar bar. And he even was like, dude, are you sure you should drive? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Fucking hammered. And I lightly rear-ended this guy. No damage. But I remember like he comes to the car and I'm like, dude, what? And he was like, oh my God. Like I know that he knew I was drunk. And I literally just drove away.
You didn't talk to him?
No, I was like, was there any damage? And he's like, no. And he's like, I think we should. And I'm like, all right, see you later. And I just peaced out.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
Dude, he wanted to call the cops and like report it to insurance. I would have 100% gone to jail.
Were you
100%.
drunk when you knocked the fence post down at your parents'?
Yes.
Yes.
I told him I was texting.
Yep.
I forgot about that too.
Yeah.
Did you know that he was?
I mean, there's always
Dude,
this,
that shit's
like,
crazy. Like,
feeling of
yeah.
like,
I was texting, but I was also shit-faced.
yeah.
See, that's where it was. Like I felt like I was lying to her about 100%.
Everything.
Anytime I talked, I was lying.
Well, and the thing
And
is
that-
like,
I knew it, but it wasn't like
and I knew that she knew it. I just had to get through the situation. That was it. Like, I just got to get through this conversation, get on the other side of it, make her feel good for now.
oh, dude.
Well, and there's times that
That
I
hits the
chose
feels, bro.
to ignore it, and
Hurts.
times that I was like, "No, I'm going to challenge this tonight. You know, I'm ready for it. I'm gonna say something."
Yeah, and that was about every 3 months, and it was a shit show.
Well, and I think like the one that was like most eye opening for me was just like a couple weeks ago. Like since you guys have started talking about it and like opening all these up, he was like, hey, remember when I did this and I said I wasn't drinking? And I was like, yeah, you were. And he's like, I know, but I told you I wasn't. And I was like, yeah, but I knew.
I knew.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just know when they're
Yeah.
not like. I mean, it's also too just. I mean, with you especially, like I've been saying, like the things that we'd fight about. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like
And
this is ridiculous.
Well,
It's
and deep down inside of me, there was real pain there.
Mhm.
You know, that I was trying to deal with in some way, you know, and there was like those emotions, those things that I was bringing up were legitimate, They had nothing to do with you, you know, but they were there and I was in a lot of pain, you know, but yeah.
Did you feel like, back to that, what you just said about getting through the conversation,
Sucks, man.
just so you can like be normal,
just
pack it down,
get
whatever.
away from it, yeah.
Was that, I mean, was I just, when those hard conversations or the arguments or whatever, did you feel like that's what I was doing? Or
Yeah, it was just like, it's also like a man thing. Like I know like that still happens, but it was like I would talk to you and you would listen to respond to me. You weren't actually listening to like get where I was coming from or like what I wanted from that.
That's really
and
cool.
it was just like putting a Band-Aid on it and hoping
Totally.
that would stop.
Mitch would ask me how my day was like 10 times. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
It's
He'd forget
important.
stuff a lot.
Oh my God, dude, that's
A
probably
lot.
the number one thing is my
Yeah.
memory.
And you still do, but not as much. Like it's
Well, there are things like if you're talking to me and I'm not looking at you, then I'm probably not
I can
listening.
tell when something else is on your mind and you're just, you know, but yeah, that was, you'd be like, just okay. Well,
So,
or we'd talk all about you and like none about,
that hasn't changed.
Well, that's true.
you're a work in progress, man. We all are.
I think I've said it on this podcast at least once, but the arrogance in my life I got to work on that. I've like literally feel like I'm right all the time. And it's a problem. So,
I got a question for you. So I think we kind of went over that day, but do you feel like I still need to make it up to you? Because the reason I ask is every day I'm still have the guilt, and this has helped. Like doing this has helped get it out, but do I still have to make it up to you?
I don't think there was ever like a make it up to you, because I don't think that like you can go back and fix like what you did wrong.
right.
I think like the best thing that you can do is like continue to like get better and like better yourself. But like it's hard because that's just always in the back of my mind. And like I know like you're a completely different person now than you were then, but there's always like that random fear, or like for me lately, like because we've been talking about it so much when we're doing all this and when you tell me about this, it's like the nightmares like come back of like, oh God, like what's he doing? And I think like that's one of the hardest things is it's like weighing heavy on me lately because it's been such a conversation at home. And I don't think that we ever really had like the conversation about it. It was just like, okay, I'm done. Great. Let's go. And it was never like, you never got like the closure from it. And so now it's like in the back of my head, like, oh God, like what am I going to do? Because like, I'm not going to stay. Like we've already established that like we're done with it, but it's also that like, how would I be able to do this on my own?
So there's a fear of him going back to it.
I don't think it's necessarily like a fear of that, because I don't think that he will. I think like we've like gone through all these hurdles, but it's just like, I don't know, like I know in my brain and in my heart that he won't do it, but there's still like some random part of me that's like, but what if?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, because
Dude, that's so insightful. Like, I really appreciate that. That's really powerful.
We never really discuss it very much because it's, for me, it just sucks, dude.
Well,
like,
yeah,
I feel like I'm so, and this might help, I'm so beyond it, like, emotionally ready. Like I took a selfie with that handle of Tito's to send it to Angie. You know, I'm so comfortable with alcohol in our photo shoot. Like it's not ever a thing.
Yeah.
But we didn't really discuss it or chat it or anything. It was just like, I'm done, move on. What's next?
Dude, you mentioned this in another episode too, that you struggle with forgiving yourself.
Big time, dude.
You know, and honestly, I think you guys just hit a nail on the head, man. Like you guys got to go back and talk about that. You gotta go back. I mean, that's, if you look at the 12 steps in AA, one of them is taking a personal inventory of all the bullshit that you've done. And then going to make amends where it's helpful, right? For you and that other, if it's harmful, then you don't do it. But the process of that is communication. It's releasing it, right? It's bringing it to the forefront of your brain, but going farther than that and understanding why, what is it about my personality that caused me to choose that? That's what will free you from what you're feeling. And that's what, listener, will free you from the addiction, is being willing to sit down. It's why I wanted to do this episode with you guys, because it's so hard to listen to all of the shit that is bad about you. Right? And it's hard to listen to it, to accept it, to lay it out on a table and then be like, yeah, this is true. This is me. I am that person. I did do these things. I left my wife at a dog park, for fuck's sake, and made her walk however many miles back to her house. Like, I did those things. You know, I freaked the fuck out because I couldn't take a boat out. Like, I'll never get past that. It feels the same way. Like, when she brings that story up, I don't want to talk about it, but I have to. And if you don't face your demons, you'll never deal with them. The podcast I was listening to this morning on sobriety, he talks a lot about that. It's really good, dude. And it's just where instead of the demons driving the car, you're driving the car, but they're still in the back seat. You know, and they're always going to be there. They're never going to go away. And it's like, we have to know that, right? And we have to, and that's why the facade of sobriety is so important to me. The foundation is true and honest. And because if that cracks, dude, it's all over. You know, and if you start telling yourself one lie around this stuff, then a second lie can find its way in, and then a third, and all of a sudden you're right back to where you started.
Yeah.
You know, and so I really feel like in your guys' personal time through counseling, like I would go through every situation that impacted Naya in a negative way, or you know, and talk about it, talk through it.
It's crazy because throughout this whole thing, dude, it's like I've been using the snow globe analogy a lot. It all just kind of chilled for 8 years.
Yeah.
And then
you met me.
And then you walk in. Yeah, dude, you walk in and this fucking snow globe keeps getting shook.
That's what I do, man.
But no, I mean, I think it's good and it's healthy, and I think this is great. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I know that about myself, though. Like, I know for a fact.
Dude, I think you struggle. You don't want to forgive yourself because you're afraid that if you do, you'll go back to it. You don't feel like you deserve forgiveness. It's true. And it's simply because you just haven't dealt with the demons.
I've gone through what's crazy about that taking inventory. Like, I called all the old managers I could. So sorry for stealing your alcohol. And Barry passed away. I could never really say sorry for you firing me twice and trusting me twice. Dude, but I've had all that with them, but I've never had that like direct with you.
And I think that is the most important piece, right? Is you and Naya. Like I would tell, my next question is like, we've focused so much on all the things that we messed up. Like I want to transition a little bit into how things are today, you know? And so yeah. So, and I think that's part of it, right? Like, I think you really truly sitting down and me like sitting down with Ash and like, I love the times where, you know, it hits me in the face where it's like, gosh, if I would have done this drunk, it would have been this way, you know? And we talk about it all the time. And I bring it up all the time. Like, could you imagine and I even joke about it, you know, like.
Well, you've actually there's situations that have happened, like stressful situations that I have just put all on my shoulders because that's what I had to do. And like you said, with the kids, and now that you're like a part of our family again, you like reminded me that. I remember you being like, I'm here now and I'm not drunk. Like, you can count on me. Yeah. And that's still something that like,
it's going to take time.
It's going to take time.
I think that's like one of the hardest parts is like we went from like everything was on you and you were doing everything for the house and you're working and you're doing everything for the kids. And like, so you have all the control, you know exactly what you're doing. And then like now you guys like want some back, but it's also hard because like I did this for so long. Like it's hard like to give those reins back to you and like be able to trust that you can do that.
Totally. You know, and as hard as that is to hear, I get it.
I mean, it's not wrong.
No. Yeah. And I honestly, it's like, I was telling my daughter this morning, I was trying to describe what kind of friends that she should have in her life. And I was like, you need to find people. I was like, there's two terms that come to mind, ride or die or foxhole friends. And I was like, telling her, I'm like, those are the people that when your life gets hard, they show up. And I was like, your mom is one of those people. She showed up for me in the worst possible situation in my life. She had every right to leave me, but she didn't. Those are the kind of friends that you need. Those are the kind of people that you need to surround yourself with.
And your brother.
Yeah, we'll get there. I'm just kidding.
Your brother.
Yeah,
So-
exactly.
So why is it so much better now? And why are you more comfortable with giving up those reins?
I feel like there's still like some things where like I'm like, hey Aaron, do this, and then you do it and I still go back and I'm like, oh, did he do that?
Yeah.
Um
Do you think that'll ever go away?
no.
Yeah.
I think it was just something that like, I mean, for us, like I dealt with for so long.
Well, it's trauma.
And like you had obviously like been drinking before we had like gotten together and started dating, but like for the first 2 years of our relationship, like that's the only thing that I knew. And I mean, we moved into with each other pretty quick and we had Connor pretty quick, but it was just like those first 2 years, like everything was on me. And so like I feel like, you know, it's like your first impressions are like important, and that was like not like my first impression of you, but that was like my first impression of our relationship. Is it was like I am like the caretaker.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like, even like I know I can count on you at this point, but like, do I know I can count on you?
You know, and that's interesting too, because it's traumatic, right? Like
Mhm.
that's a traumatic situation that you guys dealt with. So I don't think that ever does go away. You know?
You guys just have one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Would you have more? Like, was that like a thing that was a part of your decision on not having another?
No, we had talked about it, and
Yeah.
it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just only say that because I told him, and we're not able to have any more, but I said, I'm like, it'd be interesting to have another child with you sober.
Mhm.
You know, like, God, there's sometimes I wish we could, just because I'm like,
Yeah.
it would be so different. Like, you'd be so much more present and helpful and, you know, just.
You know what Naya said to me one time?
Uh-huh.
She told me I knew nothing about my son when he was like 6 or 7 months old.
Yeah.
And it was so damn true. But
Wow.
in my head, I was like, fuck, what the fuck are you talking about? It's my son. Are you crazy?
He rolls
Yeah.
around and poops his pants. What do I need to know?
Yeah.
But no, it hit the feels, and it was like I didn't figure it out then until like later. I'm like, God
Yeah.
damn it, she was so right.
Mitch has said before that he doesn't really remember a whole lot of Declan's
Not as early.
first year.
Probably the first
You know,
year
we'll
or
look
two.
back at pictures and videos, and he's like, ooh, I don't
There's
know.
a handful of things that stick out in my mind, but for the most part, dude, I completely disassociated from that.
Yeah.
I didn't really want to deal with it. And I was fucked up all the time. So
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
doesn't help. But
Mhm.
Actually, why has this year been so awesome?
It's just I have my husband back again. The person that I knew was in there, the one
Mhm.
that I fought for, you know, to get sober, and you know, he's there. And that's what I would always keep telling like my family and my friends. I'm like, he's there. You know, like it's just I'm hanging
They're like
on.
there for you, or
No,
the lights
like-
were on
I
The
was-
inside?
lights are on.
I was
like,
in there.
Mhm.
I was just dealing with.
He was just, you
Demons,
know,
you know?
yeah. And so it's like, it's been really cool. I feel like our marriage, like, is 100%
Yeah.
better. We, like you said, you're able to talk through your big feelings.
They are big.
The big boy feelings.
And we're just able to deal with things like adults, like just like a partnership, and bring things to each other that we're having issues with without going crazy. You know, and we fought, but like they're always solved by the
Well, I
end
just
of
feel
the
like they're
day,
arguments,
and
you
they're
know?
arguments that normal married couples have. And you know, it's so nice to have him a part of our family again, and be so active with the kids, and you know, to come home and have him hang out with the kids, because you used to take naps,
I'd
you know,
come
every
home and
time.
just pass out on the couch.
And I'd be making dinner with 2 kids running around, and you know, bitterness just
Mhm.
building up inside of me that he's taking a nap. And so it's like our world is just completely changed. And so I thank God every day for that. And you know, all the crap we had to go through, I somehow just knew we'd get here, you know.
Yeah. And this definitely has not been an easy year.
No, this year's been one of our hardest years ever. But we've gotten through it together.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing. You know, I don't know. It's you get these like aha moments, you know, throughout all of this. And I kind of just had one of like, maybe this year was supposed to be really hard to
Yeah.
bring us together, you know.
Mhm.
I do believe in the spiritual warfare piece of like what we're doing with this
Mhm.
podcast. And I called it, like I felt like my life was about to get completely decimated, which it did. But at the same time, I think the greatest thing in all of it is that it brought us closer together.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and it was like, dude, I broke my foot, got sober, got diagnosed with cataracts. Like financially, we're not in a great spot. And just one little thing at a time, we were able to sit down and deal with, you know. And then I can remember it. I'm present.
Yeah,
I'm like,
you were like,
okay.
can you imagine if we were dealing with this and I was still drinking?
Dude, we'd have to sell our house like 100%.
Yeah.
You know, like there'd be no way.
Yeah.
What about you? What do you think is?
I think like the best part is just like I've already went through it. And I think it's made both of us better people.
Yeah.
And like just speaking towards like he was there, and it was like one of those things where like I just feel like I like think about it sometimes, and I've had like this conversation with your sister, like, would you be here if I wasn't here? And so it's like that thought of like that was like one of my purposes is to help him through this. And I think like being able to have these conversations like with him about it and go through all of this, like you guys are obviously doing your stuff and helping other people, and just being able to like have that conversation. I have a friend at work who's going through a similar situation, and it was like a midnight phone call. And it was like, he got pulled over, he's in jail, I need you. And just being able to, like, as a friend, you can always understand, like, your friend's having a hard time, but just being able, like, I've lived through this, I know what you're going through, and being able to support other people through it all, and understand, like, where they're coming from, and not just, like, understand where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, that's for, and again, this episode that I was listening to this morning on this other podcast, it's called Sober Strength. If you guys want to listen to it, it's awesome. That's what he was kind of talking about, you know. God damn it, I keep losing my train of thought every time.
Helping other people.
Oh, right. Yeah. Like, so, and that's a huge part of sobriety, right? And AA is once you get through those steps, like turning around and helping the next person. And the greatest thing about it is it keeps you sober, you know, and that's like the number one way for alcoholics and drug addicts, I think, is to stay sober, is to go get plugged into something that's bigger than you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I could say like, and you know, like the podcast was that for me. Like I tried AA, I did the sponsor, I went through like half the steps. You know, I think I stopped at like step 9 when I had to take a personal inventory, which I did mentally. I just didn't write it down. So I didn't do that one the greatest, but it just didn't work. Like I'm a creator, you know, like I want to be in the middle of everything. Like that's just my personality. And so that's where the podcast came from, you know, that and Tyler Hoffman. And, you know, I lost one of my best friends to suicide, you know, and so it's just, we look at that every day. Like what good can we do today? You know, and that's what Tyler always asked himself. So, yeah.
Well, I think it's perfect.
Yeah.
I think it's perfect. Well,
I was going to say, is there anything that you guys want to leave on here for maybe like the partner of an alcoholic, or a chunk of wisdom that you guys would leave, like anything that maybe helped you through it that you heard throughout the process that was like, oh man, I can hold on to that. And if not, it's fine. But
I don't know if you ever did. I went to Al-Anon.
I did not.
Okay. And I didn't go for too long.
it was like a couple months. Probably.
Yeah.
What's Al-Anon?
It's a group for family members, friends who have an alcoholic in their family, and so they want to figure out how to support them, but also support themselves.
Yeah, it's like AA for the family members of alcoholics.
Yeah, so you read the commandments.
They're the 12 steps, and then I like the commandments. That's good. They're the 12 steps and the 12 traditions.
And so, like, you actually start out with that, and then there's usually like a topic that you go over. But the main thing I took from it was that we have zero control in this, and the more you try and control an alcoholic into like doing something that you want them to do, it's just going to go the opposite way that you want it to. So I learned a lot from that, that you kind of have to let go.
Yeah.
Let go and let God. But, yeah, just letting go of the control But you still stand up for yourself.
Yep.
Like, it's not like, oh,
And that's
just
something
you
that
know.
I've always been proud of you for. Like, you are not afraid to get right back in my face.
No, I wasn't.
I have a lot of respect for you for that.
But that is one thing. Yeah.
Cool. What about you?
I think like mine is just like more geared towards you, Aaron, is just that like it's like in your past, but it's okay to like move on from that. And like you've moved on from it physically, but I think emotionally you haven't. And like at some point you have to understand that like that's not who you are anymore, and like you've grown from that. And I think like one of the things that like you always say is just that it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
And that if you handle those things and you like work for those things, then it will get there.
Totally.
And it's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
Or
weird.
in 8 years.
Yeah.
Or 8 years.
I love the spiritual journey that you guys are on. I think that's really cool. I think that has a lot. That'll help a lot, with that process. Because there are things in our life that it's just like, there's absolutely nothing I can do about this outside of give it up to God and just let him deal with it, or take it away from you. And honestly, there are multiple times where I'm just like, all right, like I have zero control over this, but I'm going to do my part the best that I can and give the rest to God.
Like every single sales contract.
Yeah.
What's that? I don't even know what a sales contract is.
I know.
I actually have 3 days of showings coming up that I'm pretty excited about.
Nice. Well, we're kind of running up against it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm trying to wrap it up.
And these are awesome things. I think this is going to help a lot of people. So thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on. And Mitch,
guys-
thanks for having a lot of strength, dude. And I know you're worried about this.
It's just hard, right? Like, but I think again, we really want to highlight the vulnerability piece of this. Like, you have to be willing to be broken down.
Mm-hmm.
You have to. It's 100% part of the process, and if we can't do it and lead by example, then what are we doing here? So I just want to thank the girls for coming on. You guys, honestly, that was a lot of wisdom from both of you.
We could probably do another episode.
Yeah, we probably could.
I would love to have you guys come back in, and whenever you guys want to be on this too, man, like you guys are welcome. You're our wives, like you're a part of this. So Thank you, Ashely. Thank you, Naya. You guys are amazing. Thanks for sticking by our sides.
Thanks for not leaving. I really appreciate it.
I can honestly say that my relationship with you changed my life.
Yeah.
So I love you.
Love you too.
All right. Well, with that, we are going to let you guys go.
Gross.
Thank you guys for listening to Shattered Darkness. We are our episodes are released at this point, so I'm going to edit that out. But and knock the camera one more time.
We'll embrace imperfection
Just
countless
stop.
times.
Stop right now. All right. Bye.
Oh, bye.
There we go.